Good morning, everyone. Robin Shea here. It is the first day of phase 4 of Before the Fork, the 28-day experience. So this is day 25, and I am so thrilled for everyone that has stuck with the program for the previous 24 days. I hope that you felt the system in place. I hope that you moved through the phases and you felt the phases. Phase 1, phase 2, of course, phase 3, and then now the final phase, phase 4. So here I have my book, I have my notes, journaling on and feeling all of this and getting little tidbits that I want to talk about on the first day of the final phase. And I love this idea. And it may sound a little harsh, but at the same time, it is the key ingredient. It is the foundation of the work. And it's basically, don't bring the need if you don't have the seed. So what does that mean? Well, it means, from a biblical perspective, it's talking about faith. But if we switch this over to the Before the Fork process, the 28-day experience, it's the difference between intention and success. So how many of us have started a diet and fitness program with the best intentions? I mean, we were going to knock it out of the park. Our heart was right. We intended on going through the whole program and finding success in every step. Our intentions were solid, but it didn't happen. Okay? It just didn't happen. And we're thinking to ourselves, I had every intention of making this happen. I had every intention of seeing this through. So what was missing? What makes the Before the Fork system different than any other program out there? Well, the missing ingredient is surrender. Surrender is what takes intention to the next level. It's what takes wanting to bake a cake to baking the cake. Such a big difference, yet such a seemingly small shift in perspective. So when I went through my transformation process 15 years ago, all of this was just dumped into me. It was dumped into me in an instant. And then it took me 14 years of research to unravel this organic system that the good Lord, my precious God, had poured into me in an instant. Now, I could have just taken that instance, my changed life, and held it to myself. And I'm going to tell you right now that had I chosen to do that, it would have withered and died on the vine. And I might have gone right back to my old ways because I didn't continue the loop of paying it forward. But through that process, through paying it forward, I continued my loop, and it has not stopped giving to me for one day for the past 15 years. It was enough to fill me up for a lifetime. So creating the system, decoding the mystical, God-ordained process that was breathed into me through the Holy Spirit is what my gift is to you. So it takes your intention of wanting to be successful in your reinvention, your transformation process. I think it's become clear now, hopefully to you, that Before the Fork can be used in any area of your life. Learning to climb the happiness ladder can be directed to your relationships, to your finances, to your health, to your wellness, to where you live. It can be micro managed to where it's individual experience. It can be macro managed to where you try to put it into your whole life. But when we go back to the plate spinner, we're working and focusing on one area of your life, and we're going to get that plate spinning, and then we're going to move it into the other areas of your life. So intention is wanting to bake the cake of life. Surrender is taking the instructions and saying, I'm following these to the letter, and I'm going to end up with a result. So intention is surrendering into the recipe. And that's what has to happen in order for you to realize success on an entirely different level. Now, you may have talked to people through your life. You may have even been, or you may be, maybe you are someone that has been super, super successful. And I'm going to tell you that at the core of your success, whatever that success is, raising wonderfully well-balanced children, your job, competing in a race, a Tough Mudder or a 10K or whatever it might be, completing your college education, whatever you have been successful in, at the core of that success is this system. Because this system is the entree to making advances in your life from a holistic perspective and through a state of joy and inspiration. Okay? So I love to think about this little phrase that is kind of a biblical phrase, and it's, don't bring the need if you don't have the seed. Well, the seed is faith. The seed is surrender. And once you have that seed, then it's planted. And through your obedience to the system, to the God-ordained system of Before the Fork, the 4 phases of change, the 6 pillars, the 6 foundational pillars that will take your life to the next level. Once you surrender into that system, then this transformation that you're moving through right now takes on an entirely different landscape, because you are excited to rest in this moment of time, to rest in phase 4 for the next 4 days, to take note of what is sticking, where your weaknesses lie, but not to hyper focus. What we're doing right now is just taking a breath. We're enjoying the cake that we baked. And however good that cake is today is a direct reflection of your commitment and your surrender into phase 1, into phase 2, and into phase 3. Now you're reaping the reward of what you baked over these last 24 days. So if your cake is that's okay. That's okay. It's no different than going in the kitchen and trying a new recipe. Maybe you shortcutted a couple things. Maybe you weren't as diligent as you could have been. Maybe you were out of one ingredient, so you substituted another ingredient. Good morning, Margie. So happy to have you. Marjorie, gosh, I'm sorry, I read that too fast. So glad to have you this morning. Maybe your oven wasn't at quite the right temperature. Maybe you didn't have the right pan. Whatever the reason was, it's insignificant. It doesn't matter. You still are left today with the cake that you invested in during the previous 3 phases. Enjoy your cake. Relish in the fact that it's out of the oven and you are finished. You're complete. You are whole. You got a result. You started a recipe. You followed the recipe, or you sort of followed the recipe, or you didn't follow the recipe at all. But regardless, you have a result. So now what we do for the next 4 days, today and through the end of the 28th day, we're just going to kind of treasure our time together. We're going to talk into some ideas, some new ideas. As a matter of fact, this intention versus surrender. Good. I feel like you're family, so I'm going to call you Margie. How about that? We're going to, well, like I said, the idea of intention versus surrender. So let's take that a little bit deeper. So if you think about intention, think about wanting to move a boulder up a hill. You have the intention of moving the boulder up the hill. So you get behind it and you start rolling it. And you just roll and you roll and you roll that boulder. And it is so heavy. And your feet keep slipping. And every now and then that boulder comes back and it rolls right over you. Well, you have really, really good intentions. But your means of execution are lacking. So the surrender is realizing that you have the same hill that you want to roll the boulder up. But if you take the boulder and you start circling the mountain, you have this little slope and you can push it very easily. And so you just push it and you keep on pushing it and you keep on pushing it. And it's never that hard. It feels good. It's exercising your spirit. And you just, it never has so much momentum away from you that it rolls back on top of you. But it's just this slight, gentle upward motion that you have control over every step. So every now and then you just stop and you kind of lean on the boulder and you take a breath and you're able to look out and you see this magnificent view of where you've been, and it doesn't get away from you, and you take a breath and you breathe, and then you continue rolling that boulder around the mountain. Now, you had the same intention from the very beginning. You just didn't know that there was a ramp all the way around the mountain that made the process enjoyable. It made it challenging, but within your control. It allowed you moments of rest so that you could look back over your process and appreciate the view of where you've been. So when you're rolling that boulder up the hill with strictly intention, you can't look behind you because you can't take your eye off the boulder. It'll get away from you. It'll roll back over and crush you. But when you surrender into the system and the instruction is revealed to you, now you can, oh mercy, whoa, mercy. Must have been a rabbit or something because the dogs just went nuts. But now you're given this system, you're given these instructions, and it says, hey, dummy, look to your right. You see that ramp? Go put the boulder on the ramp. Now just start pushing it gently, and it's going to start rolling up, up, up until finally you're resting at the top of the mountain that you have tried to climb. You've tried to roll this boulder up how many times? I know before my transformation, I'd been rolling it uphill from the time I was 17 years old. From the time my discontentment started, I had been trying to push that boulder uphill, and I was crushed more times than I can even begin to tell you. But through this system, I never, ever have to be crushed again. I have all of the tools that I will ever need to take myself from a beginner to a master, to a beginner, to a master in any and all areas of my life. It has been the most tremendous blessing to me to discover the processes that were poured into me in a moment of just divine connection with my Creator. And I truly believe that it was His ultimate gift for me to spend 14 years discovering the recipe that I have now given to you. So today is a day no different than any other day. We're just going to rest in the cake that we have baked. Hi, Teresa. We're going to eat it, enjoy it, acknowledge it, bless it, thank it, pay it forward. We're going to look around to people that we can introduce it to. We're going to say, hey, come along with me. We're going to do this again. We're going to start from a higher set point. You're going to have an opportunity to minister to someone. You don't have to be an expert to minister to anybody. Trust me, I am no expert, but I do have a recipe, and I can share this recipe with others, and I can help others elevate themselves, and I can inspire others to want to bake their own cake. I can tell them the ingredients. I can tell them the oven temperature. I can tell them what pan to use. I can never bake it for them, but I can give them everything they need to bake their own cake. So rest today in knowing that you have a result, and that result is a direct reflection of the effort that you put into the 3 previous phases. It's not a judgment against whether you're a rock star or not. It just means that you got whatever you put in. You came to this with a seed or without a seed, and you came to it with intention that hopefully turned into surrender. If it didn't, now you know that the only missing ingredient is to surrender into the process, to go through those 28 days, to never cheat yourself of an opportunity to grow and to evolve within the structure of the 28-day experience. So pat yourself on the back. Give yourself some love. Start looking around for others to minister to take with you on the next journey. The more that you involve others in your life, the more that you complete your circle, and you take others by the hand. And just remember, oh, there the dogs go again. We focus on the 2%. We don't focus on the 98%. Learning what they're doing to stay where they are does not help us. But focusing on that 2% and examining what they're doing to become successful, that helps us. Those are tools we can use. So if you grab 10 people to come along with you the next time that we work through this 28-day program, and only one of them end up joining you, that's brilliant. That's perfect. That's wonderful. Bless the other 9. And hopefully at a later date, they'll come with you and they'll want to join you again. The next time you start the program, you're going to be starting at a higher set point, and you're going to feel that. You're going to recognize that moving into it. And hopefully if you only partly surrendered next time, but you held a little back, and so you would start rolling that boulder along the side of the mountain because you were feeling surrender, and every now and then you turn straight up and you start pushing it uphill again. We all have done it. I've done it. Just know that maybe this time, the next time you go around, you can continue up the loop and you can stay on course because you're trusting in the system that has been created. So that's my message for you today. Intention versus surrender, and how to make the transition into surrender. We have tonight's message, and then 6 more experiences, 6 more messages that I'll be giving to you over the next 3.5 days. So be blessed. Have a wonderful Saturday. Today is my Coley Bowley's first birthday. That is my grandson. So we're getting ready to go celebrate his life, and what a blessing he has been to every one of us. So I can't wait to go share that experience with my son. Coley looks just like his mommy, but he acts just like my son. And so it's so funny to see that. Colton, my oldest boy, was stubborn. He was a mama's boy. I mean, people couldn't even look at Coley. Or my Colton when he was little. They would look at him, and he was so discerning. And if they caught his eye for too long, oh, he shot them. I mean, just devil daggers. He had no interest in anyone but his mama. And I have to admit, from a little selfish perspective, I loved every second of being his son and being what he traveled around. I was his life, and such a blessing. So we're going to go pay that forward today, giving my little grandson love, who his mama is the apple of his eye. She is his son, and he travels around her, and I just love to see that. So Margie, I'm so glad that the recipe analogy hit home with you. It really is such a a great metaphor for this entire process. So I love you all. I've been a windbag this morning, so I'm going to wrap it up. Have a blessed day. Remember to always be a blessing and to consider yourself blessed. Continue that circle of life, and it will just keep giving to you forever and ever and ever. Amen. So I love you all. Have a fantastic day, and I will talk to you tonight. Bye-bye.